So, you said you know algebra, right?
Yes, I passed with an average of 90%.
Are you sure about that? Well, let me quiz you, specifically on linear functions.
Okay, I'm up for the knock challenge.
Ha ha. Now, if you don't mind hopping off the screen for a second,
I was doing my homework.
your homework can wait. I want to quiz you on your knowledge on linear functions.
Sure.
Let's start off with a simple problem.
Okay.
I have a graph showing the distance and time a car travels, so your first problem is to find the rate of change of the car, or how far does the car go in a certain amount of time.
First, I need to find a point that has whole values for both the time and the distance of the car. Oh look, the point 2, 2 corresponds to when the car has driven for 5 minutes and 2 miles.
I think you know this, but I will point out that the rate of change is a ratio between the dependent variable and independent variable. The dependent variable is always on the y-axis, the independent variable is always on the x-axis.
So, rate of change is basically the y value over the x value. I guess it's similar to slope, but instead of using grid lines, units are used. Because the value for distance, which is on the y-axis, is 2, and the value of time, which is on the x-axis, is 5, the rate of change is 2/5 miles per minute. This can be converted into 24 miles per hour or 0.4 miles per minute.
You're right. My teachers would be picky with answers, since they wanted it listed the way it was from the graph. Next, find the graph of an equation in slope-intercept form.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Isn't the equation for slope-intercept form y equals mx plus b?
You are right. And to clarify, m signifies.
Come on, you are making this too easy by defining terms. I already know that m is the slope of the line, or how many spaces up the line goes over one space, right? X and y are the input and output of the function. Also, b is the y-intercept, or where the line and y-axis intersect.
So the equation is y equals 4x plus 4.
I can see 4 is the slope and 4 is the y-intercept. This means I should start my line at 0, 4 on the y-axis, and each successive point should be 4 spaces up and 1 space to the right of the point.
That is the correct answer. Now I want you to graph from an equation in standard form.
I remember that they are a little different from slope-intercept form, but what do they look like?
The formula for standard form is ax plus by equals c, where a and b are coefficients.
Oh yeah, I remember that from the factoring unit last year.
Yes, you can think of it like that. Standard form equations are difficult to graph by themselves, so I find it easier to turn them into slope-intercept form. So here's a problem. 3x plus 4y equals to 21.
I know how to do this. You just isolate the 4y from 3x by subtracting it and then dividing both sides by 4. Okay, so I got y equals negative 3/4 x plus 21/4.
Correct. Now this part is done. All you need to do is just graph it.
How does this look?
This is indeed correct. Quite impressive linear skills for someone 2 grades below me.
Oh, be quiet.
Let's move on. Now, your next problem is to find the equation of the function from this graph with a line.
I can tell that the y-intercept is 1, but the grid lines are kind of hard to see.
To clarify, the lines go 2 spaces right, every 1 space up.
That means the rise is 1 and the run is 2. Because slope is rise over run, the slope of this line is 1/2. The slope-intercept form of a line is y equals mx plus b. When I plug what I have in, I get y equals 1/2 x plus 1.
You are indeed correct. Once again, you have proven yourself to be worthy.
Worthy of what?
Never mind. Here's another problem. Write an equation from this table.
You made finding out the line described in the table very easy. I can see the line includes the point 0, -1. This means that the y-intercept is -1.
Also, the next point is 1, 1.
That means the x value changed by 1 between the 2 points, and the y value changed by 2 between the 2 points. Because of this, the rise is 2 and the run is 1. Slope is rise over run, which for this equation is 2 over 1, so the slope of this line is 2. I am going to put this line into slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. M, or slope, is 2, and b, or the y-intercept, is 1. So the equation of the line described in the table is y equals 2x plus 1.
That is the correct answer. You do seem smarter than you did a year ago.
Thanks.
So now, I'll show you how to calculate equations of parallel lines through a point.
How do I know that you understand the concept of linear functions? I think you should solve the problem too.
No thanks, I'm too proficient for this.
Oh, come on.
Alright, fine. Give me a problem.
So here's a line on the graph.
Wow, how difficult.
Be quiet. You need to find the equation of the line that is parallel to the function y equals -3/4 x plus 3 and goes through the point 4, 5.
Easy. We know that for the lines to be parallel, they need to have the same slope.
Right.
So the equation will be y equals -3/4x plus b. All I need to do now is just plug in the point 4, 5, and I'll get the value for b.
Exactly.
After plugging in the point, the full equation is y equals -3/4x plus 8.
That seems to be correct. Good job.
You quizzed me on finding the equation of a parallel line given a point. Well, I have a challenge for you. How about finding the equation of a perpendicular line? Specifically, find the equation of the line perpendicular to y equals -2x that goes through the point 2, 4.
I know that perpendicular lines have slopes that are negative reciprocals.
Yes, and it is important to note that negative reciprocals switch the sign in addition to the numerator and the denominator.
So the negative reciprocal of -2 is 1/2, which means the slope of the line perpendicular to -2x is 1/2.
I see that you prefer slope-intercept form for solving problems, as it is easier to convert into a graph. If you are trying to get the equation into y equals mx plus b form, you need the b.
Well, you're talking about the y-intercept, which I definitely need. I can use the modified form of the slope-intercept form to find b, or the y-intercept. The equation is y minus m times x equals b. I know the slope, which is 1/2, and I know the point 2, 4 is on the line. By substituting the value I know, I get 4 minus 1/2 times 2 equals b. I can simplify this to 4 minus 1 equals b, so b equals 3.
I didn't expect you to get the value of b correct.
Now that I know the slope and y-intercept, I can find the equation that solves this problem. The answer to the equation that is perpendicular to the line y equals -2x and goes through the point 2, 4 is y equals 1/2 x plus 3.
Another problem well done, my brother. Alright, now it's time to do the linear word problems. I'm too lazy to make up a word problem, so I'll use an AI. I remember last year I told you about the recent AI called Chatbot Prime.
Oh yeah, I once used it to help me study factoring.
Right. Can I use your computer?
Alright.
Can you create a linear word problem? I see. There are many different kinds of real-life matters one can put into a linear word problem. Here's an example. Jimmy runs the landscaping business. For each house he visits, he charges a $20 flat fee. He also charges $10 for each hour he works. How many hours did he spend at a customer's house after the customer gave him $41?
I already know how to do this. No need to.
First, you need to define terms like this. X is going to be the number of hours spent, and Y will be the total cost. When putting these variables together with the money in the problem, you will get Y equals 10x plus 20, where 10 is the constant variable, and 20 is like the Y-intercept. Wait, you don't need to. Once the equation is set, you can plug in the value of $41. After plugging in this value, you definitively get 2.1 hours as your final answer. You didn't need to solve the problem for us. However, you seem to listen to my commands less carefully. I don't understand. Never mind. Sorry about that malfunction, but you have proved you have mastered the concept of linear functions.
I agree. I also was doing the problem while Chatbot Prime was explaining, and I also got 2.1 hours or 2 hours and 6 minutes.
You should be very proud of yourself, brother.
I am. Now I need to get back to my homework.
Alright, go finish up.